how to increase your energy, drop the body fat, and get your body back on your side. In this video, if you're a high-functioning business owner or busy professional, I'm going to walk you through the 5-step formula we've used after spending tens of thousands of hours in the trenches, understanding what needs to happen when to get your body back on your side. I'm going to walk you through the whole thing. If you stay to the end, I've got a special bonus for you too. So what we're going to walk you through is this more energy, less fat formula. Now, this is, like I said, it's been something that we've developed after working with thousands of clients and spending a lot of time really understanding what order this should be done in. I think one of the big things on the internet is that we focus on spending more time trying to find more information. It's hard enough trying to find what's accurate. Today, what I want you to do is understand what's accurate, but then be able to move it to what's relevant for your age and stage of life. All right. And the big problem that we're finding in today's world is that we're having a big conversation around nutrition and training without actually having a conversation of health first. At the end of the day, whether you're looking to build muscle, drop body fat, or just get your energy back, you've got to have your body in a healthy space so it's actually working for you. All right. So we're absolutely going to talk about nutrition and exercise, but looking at stress, toxicity, and sleep through a much different lens. You know what these are. These aren't crazy topics, but how you think about them makes all the difference. All right. Although you know the overall umbrella, I want to make sure that really in today's video, it's a case of shifting your perspective on how you think about these. So the first one I want to go over is stress, right? Stress is not a level, but a threshold. That means that it's something that can be lowered or higher, and it's something that you have control over. When we look at it through the lens of business and health, they are not conflicting. If you're looking to get more out of your work, more out of life after work, trying to make sure that we look at stress through a different lens will change the game entirely. The first one that we're looking at here is what are the things that are actually lowering our stress threshold? One is chronic stress throughout the day. We know that, right? If we're noticing that we're stressed through the whole workday, we're in that chronic state, that's something that no animal on the planet is made to withstand. And it's going to break down muscle tissue, it's going to increase body fat, and your body is not going to respond particularly well. But that is only under the psychological component of stress. If we look at the other physical and digestive demands on stress, we're looking at inflammatory foods shooting up that stress response in the body. If we're having low quality sleep, again, we're going to be much less resilient to sleep. Toxin exposure, things we're putting on our face or cleaning the house with, that's going to have a massive difference to our toxic load, right? And that's going to be a huge thing that decreases their overall threshold, or simply are we able to withstand more stress? If we're not looking after our body, that level lowers. On the other hand, how do we increase the threshold? And this is really where it shifts your perspective around how do we increase it and how do we make sure we show up more resilient? There's a big difference between someone who has been in a busy corporate environment for 20 years and he's used to the rush and constant demands of that space versus, your first day you walk through the door, you're fresh and you've never really experienced that level of stress. It's going to take a while for you to build up that threshold. So it shows that it's something we can build. How do you do so? One of the biggest things that we've done with our clients and becomes a really nice anchor in their day or their week is adding in, whether it's a weight training, it's a HIIT session, it's even maybe a cold shower. The point of it is choosing your challenge, choosing that thing where that's little mental chatter on your shoulder telling you not to do the thing and you do it anyway. And you build that level of stress to a level that's heightened beyond simply the normal day-to-day. Now, there's a beauty in this, which is if we're used to a low or moderate level of stress throughout the day, what we're doing is forcing ourselves into an extreme amount of stress in a short amount of time, 5-10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes max. We're doing a short burst on the rower, or we're doing a big weight session, but we're getting it done in a short amount of time. Or maybe we simply get a couple minutes under the cold shower. It's a heightened stress response. The beauty in this is that it creates a discrepancy between the high level stress and the stress that we feel on a day-to-day level. Okay. When we're able to do this, our body is able to handle the outside world so much more. So this is why this is step one, right? We're looking at it through the lens of stress first so that we have a more resilient body to the outside world. When that's happening, our body's not breaking down and we're in a position that we can actually recover. 2 is toxicity. And this is an area, again, where we're not going to remove toxins entirely, but we can improve our response to the outside world. Now, being able to reduce the things that are in our general exposure, like the insensitivities or intolerances in our foods, the chemicals that we maybe expose ourselves to, the water and the foods we eat, but looking at through the lens of understanding that our gut is very much our protective layer out to the outside world, very much like our skin. So looking at that as being a very core asset of what we look at as improving how a body functions, we're looking at repairing that gut wall. When we can do so, that is very much the bodyguards to the toxins and invaders that come into our body. So 1, we can reduce the toxicity that comes through, but 2, we can actually improve the overall response to those toxins coming in. And if you're noticing that in your mid 40s and 50s, your body's not responding like it used to, typically this is 10, 20, 30 years of that breaking down of the gut lining that needs a little bit of a boost. The third one we're going to look at here is sleep, right? And sleep I find a really, really interesting topic. Everyone knows that they should be getting a good night's sleep, yet there's a general expected standard that as we age, we tend to see that we get less sleep or we get more disrupted sleep. That is not the case. And I think the issue becomes that there's very little out there to tell you, how do I improve my sleep? Having a cool, dark, quiet room is a great place to start. And I think that's a really good recommendation that many people are talking about. But between that and a full sleep study or going down the sleep apnea route, there's very little in the middle that I feel people know what to do. So I'm going to walk you through 3 key areas that we see with our clients to understand what might be going on and what you can do to actually improve your sleep. The first one that I want to go through is going to be, so we're going to break it down really into 3 categories of time in the night, right? So imagine you go to bed at 10 p.m. and 1 to 3 hours is when you're waking up, right? So maybe 11, 12, or even 1 o'clock. Typically, we see this as a glucose control issue, right? This is where we, depending on what we have in our meal before bed, can have a significant impact into our quality of sleep. Things like alcohol are going to have a massive difference, but also if we're not having carbs in that last meal, I think there's a huge issue in the dieting culture that no carbs after 6 has become a very common trend, yet it's not particularly helpful for that stress response in regards to calming the body down. The only way you're going to get good night's sleep is to calm the nervous system down, to be able to secrete a hormone called melatonin, to be able to get that deep quality sleep. Apart from the melatonin secretion, there's also very much a stable glucose response that's required to keep our body fueled throughout the night without waking up and our body needing to say, right, you need to eat, right? Because we're seeing our blood sugars get too low. So by looking at your last meal and actually having a low glycemic carbohydrate, we do see that works really well, provided there's some form of exercise or movement in your day. The second one that we're going to look at here is liver function, right? This is where if we're going to bed at 10 p.m., we're noticing that you're waking up anywhere from 1, 2, or 3 in the morning, right? A lot of people feel that we're just having to get up to pee, but our bladder is very resilient, and this is typically not the case. If we're noticing that we're waking up, we're having a disrupted sleep, we've commonly seen through blood work and analysis of our clients is that there's usually congestion in the liver, and there's a big and very strong correlation with liver congestion and simply a disrupted sleep pattern. It's typically between that 3 to 5 hours during the night. Now, the last one, this is where it becomes very common with busy professionals and business owners, is oxidative stress, right? 5 to 7 hours into the night. If we're noticing that, again, we go to bed at 10 p.m. and we're waking up at 4, 5, or 6 o'clock, really alert, and we can't go back to sleep, even if we'd like to get another hour or two. This is typically an oxidative stress response. It's all of those thoughts going through our head. We're not getting them down on paper, and we're waking up in a stress response to remember the thing or get onto the task. And if we do that every now and then, we're excited for an event on the day or whatever's coming up, that's fine. But if it's every day coming through, we're never able to get a good 7, 8, or even 9 hours sleep. Sometimes if it's required, depending on the person, sometimes that's actually required. Having a good, stable, long sleep, a big part of this is, again, that time management on the day before and having a solid night routine. So looking at what we look through, taking it from a to-do list to a calendar, getting an idea of how do we actually put those things in our day. Many of the business owners and professionals we work with, they're running 3 different departments or 3 different companies, and they never put it into the same calendar, let alone where they work out, when they spend time with their family, when they finally wind down. So we're always trying to catch up on all the things we haven't done rather than taking the time to get ready for tomorrow so we can show up just as productive. All right, so to summarize on that one, we've got 3 key areas. We've got glucose control, liver function, and oxidative stress. We're able to actually break the sleep down into 3 key areas and actually identify an area that we can dive into. And if that's a further support supplementation-wise, if it's simply a nutritional tweak, or very likely more of an environmental or how we look at our day, makes a huge difference to how we sleep. All right, so these first 3 that we've gone through is you're going through stress, we're looking at toxicity and specifically gut health and sleep. These are 3 core tenets that need to be in a good spot to get your body back on your side, what we call front loading your health. When we get your body to that point, we're now in a much better position to play the nutrition exercise game. 1, you'll want to exercise, you'll want to move because your body feels good and it's not creaking, you don't have sore joints. And nutrition becomes a much more important and much more enjoyable game because we're not just backing ourselves into a corner playing the calorie counting game and trying to force calories down. In a lot of ways, I'd say 50, maybe even 60% of our clients actually end up eating more food because they're fueling the day. They have an adequate amount of protein to actually repair tissue. They're able to be focused and productive through the day. They're more energetic. They're more able to do the things they want to do in their day. So this whole conversation shifts by just doing those first three differently. And if you're not doing this, ask yourself, how would this look in your life? Is this something that you're maybe guilty of going past or not looking at first, and you've just dived into another boot camp or a 6-week diet or whatever the thing might be? Imagine what that would look like if you felt good, you're recovering, your energy was in a great spot first. How much easier nutrition exercise would really look. That's exactly why we do it with our clients. And if you want to dive into that more, there'll be a couple links below and you can actually look at what this looked like to build out a plan for you personally. Now, the next one I want to take you through is nutrition. We're not done yet, right? We've taken the time to look at this through the lens of the first three. The fourth one here, nutrition. Again, we're not looking at calorie counting. We're not looking at suppressing food down. So the one key concept that I think works really, really well to start off on the right foot is something called metabolic flexibility. Now, this is something that 90% of the population are not very good at doing, i.e. being able to use either fats or carbs as fuel, being able to switch between the two. Most of us are very reliant on carbohydrates. And if we're not, we notice our energy is dipping and diving throughout the day because we're not able to use anything else. Now, the goal is not to only ever use fat like a ketogenic diet. It's to be able to use both, right? So it's a skill in the middle of simply being able to adapt and utilize fuel like you were 20 again, right? And that's ultimately that programming that we're able to do, or that we're able to do in the morning. We literally have the ability to program our body to use fats as fuel every morning. So choosing what we eat in the morning can have a significant impact on our focus, our productivity, our hormonal status, and so much more throughout the day. So looking at starting with simply a protein and fats type breakfast as opposed to the classic muesli or oats type option could be a significant shift in how you operate for the rest of the day, and it's a strategy we use a ton. All right, again, if you want access to some of these steps in a little bit, I'm going to give you access to a quick bonus so you can dive into this a wee bit more. And then the last one is exercise, and this is my personal favorite. If you haven't followed us for a long time, I actually started off as a personal trainer. I spent the better part of a decade obsessing about exercise before ever diving into all of these steps, and it became a continued evolution of how do I make this easier for my clients? How do I make sure they can actually move forward? And without the amount of stress and inflammation that we're all under in that busy professional setting, where do you need to start? And that's really why these 4 steps have come in. But when we get to exercise, and once we've done those steps and our body's feeling better, things are operating at such a better way, now exercise becomes fun. It's something we want to do. Our joints aren't hurting. We're recovering so much better. But there's one key problem that we see come through time and time again. And that is if you dive into running as a new activity, right, you'll drop some body fat. But if you've been doing it for a long time, it's really, really hard to try drop body fat unless you go further, you go faster, and that's very few variables for you to play with in order to really, truly progress body fat. And that's because as we get better at running, we get more efficient at contracting muscles. So we can get faster, we can get better at running, but we actually get less effective at dropping body fat. Now, if we flip this to something like weight training, we start off with trying to contract muscles, moving things around and trying to get used to feeling that area. And for a lot of business owners, there's a real shift of I need to be willing to be bad before I can be good. Just extra side thought there. But when we get better at weight training over time, we become more effective at contracting muscles. What this means is we're able to get more done in a 20-minute workout doing weight training rather than an hour, maybe even 2 hours of running, because we're getting better at contracting muscles. And now we're looking at this specifically through the body composition lens. If you enjoy running and mountain biking and all of these things, which I do too, we can absolutely add those in. But imagine how much more power, how much more strength, how much more stability you have when you know those joints are strong and stable, right? So for us, we see weight training as a means to enjoy the rest of our life, as well as really achieve and hit those goals. And the simple ability that running will make you more efficient at contracting muscles long term in order to get better at a skill, whereas weight training gets you more effective at contracting muscles in order to elicit as much stimulus in a short amount of time as possible to make the most of your time. So that is our 5 steps formula, taking you through all 5 of the steps we take in order with our clients to really get them back down to their dream weight, get their energy up, make sure that they can get the most out of their day, and they're aging in a way that they still feel they can do all the activities they love for as long as possible. If this is something you liked and you want access to this complete guide that I've been walking you through today, this is a full 19-page document. of all of the steps broken down into what you can do and when. If you want access to that, simply click below. There'll be a link. If you're listening to this on podcast, then simply go to our free Your Body Reset Facebook group and we can send you this directly. Otherwise, the link will be below and you'll be able to download this and walk through the 5 steps. If this is something you wanted to go into a little bit more, that's a great place to start. Get a little bit more understanding of how to get your body back on your side. It's a significant shift, and after working with thousands of clients, I'm excited for you to go through it, because once that switch flicks for you, it's going to be a very, very different game. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to learn more about Body Reset, around gut health, hormones, and how to get your body back on your side, there will likely be more videos around the screen. Otherwise, in podcast, the same format as well. Hope you have an amazing week, team, and we'll see you next week. Bye.